Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Couple channel. I'm Wendy and here is my non-spoiler review for The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman is directed by Rob Savage and stars Sophie Thatcher, Chris Messina, Vivien Lyra Blair, and David Dastmalchian. High school student Sadie Harper and her younger sister Sawyer are reeling from the recent death of their mother and aren't getting much support from their father Will, a therapist who is dealing with his own pain. When a desperate patient unexpectedly shows up their home seeking help, he leaves behind a terrifying supernatural entity that preys on the families and feeds on the suffering of its victims. Now, this film is inspired and based off the short by Stephen King. And upon watching the trailer, I said, I don't know how much I want to see this film, not because it didn't look good. It looked great. But as someone who sometimes feel a little afraid when she is alone in the dark, and I know I'm not the only one out there, so comment below if you're also, when you're alone in the dark, sometimes those eerie thoughts or like certain weird noise just kind of gets in your head a little bit too much and you feel unease. I felt like this movie was going to trigger and target me. What I've heard is that this is obviously a rated PG-13 film, but apparently Stephen King had watched some of the early tests or whatever, maybe earlier versions, and he felt that they had to change he voiced an opinion that they had to change some scenes because it was too scary. I also heard that it played ahead of certain other PG-13 films, as trailers often do in movie theaters. And then parents complained that it was too scary for kids and they had to pull the trailer out of certain movies kind of in that PG-13 demographic. So knowing all of that going in, knowing how I feel about, things like The Boogeyman and the dark in a horror movie aspect, I was very nervous about going into this film, but I was also really excited because that's what's kind of fun about seeing a horror movie. You can sit there, you get the jump scares, you feel all tense, the goosebumps. Oh, I love it all. So let's get into it. The Boogeyman, again, this is based on Stephen King's short story of the same name, but they took that and they expanded it into a full-length film. So for those of you who do know the short, it's expanding past kind of the psychiatrist office. And then for everybody who is like, oh my gosh, spoilers, it's not a spoiler, I promise you. So kind of like the synopsis I gave you earlier, this family, they are dealing with the death of their mother, or for the husband, the death of his wife. And the girls are looking for an outlet. They're younger, one's in high school, one's much younger than that. And they're just looking for an outlet to find comfort and support from their father, who is a therapist, but he is having a really hard time facing his own pain, which is very natural. So he's kind of like, I'm not ready to talk about it, or he will just kind of walk away from a conversation because he's not ready to face it yet. Everything starts to escalate after a patient unexpectedly shows up, unscheduled session, but he, out of the the goodness of his heart, he goes ahead and he sees this patient, and that is David Dastmalchian's character, and that is where the patient starts to talk about something in the dark, something that is like an entity like a boogeyman, and how it follows him, and he keeps hearing voices. And after that, things start going really bad for this family, because again, the boogeyman is something that feeds on the pain of others, and this family, having suffered a major loss, is in pain. As far as the horror aspect of the film, yes, it's scary, but it's not scary like gory, and I also wouldn't say it's too full of jump scares, but there are moments where it will make you feel so tense because they kind of drag that out in the best way possible, where you're looking down a dark hallway and your eyes are thinking, do I see something in that corner? Did something just move? Or is just not there at all? You're not really sure what you're seeing, and I love that horror movies like this one can play tricks on your mind and sort of using your imagination to really emphasize all of that. The way they play with lighting, obviously, when you have a film called The Boogeyman, who exists more so in the dark, thrives in the dark, a lot of the film is going to be in the dark. So the way they played with lighting is really, really special. In the trailer, you can see that there is this like glowy nightlight ball thing that the younger daughter has, and the way that they use that in the film and other lighting instruments are really, really fascinating. I will say for me, I think it's because I really, really prepped myself for this type of film. Not many jump scares got to me, but that is not the same for the audience because people were hollering, and you know, you do that nervous laughter when you're getting scared or you just came out of a jump scare, so you're kind of laughing to sort of ease that tension. This is a movie to be enjoyed with an audience for sure, for especially this kind of atmosphere. As far as the pacing goes for this film, it really gradually builds up to the big climax, which is kind of stereotypical for movies. But the first act was almost kind of, if you're looking like for horrifying moments other than the very beginning of the film, the first act you can kind of watch and sit back and let yourself enjoy. But as we go through, you know, towards the third act of the film, they put little moments in there that makes you think, huh, was that something or is that just my imagination? And then they do it some more and then some more. And then by the third act, you're kind of enveloped in this tension where your eyes are glued to the screen because you don't want to miss anything. Your ears are super perked up because you're like, what is that sound coming from? Where is it coming from? And am I going to see this monster? I just love the way it built up because it was almost a slow burn, but it was so delicious and so much fun to experience. So The Boogeyman, this is a film that I think it's going to stick with you days after you see it, especially when you come home to, you know, a dark apartment because none of the lights are on and you will quickly go through the house to turn all of them on. Or you might want to sleep with the light on, or if you pass a dark corner or a dark room and your eyes may have glimpsed something in the corner, you second guess yourself and you go, what was that? So I'll go ahead and rate this film. This is a very entertaining watch. I think it's a great way to expand the short story by Stephen King, and with that, I am going to rate this movie a check it out. A horror movie like this should always be seen in the theater with an audience. So enjoy, have fun, come on back and let me know your thoughts after you've seen The Boogeyman in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.